In this session, we are going to look at the surface checker and the editing tools inside MX. The objective here is to explain how MX creates a triangulated model and how we check the survey data for conflicts. We can analyze any model inside MX. Usually the models that we analyze are either the survey or the design model. These models are string models. The triangular mesh that MX creates forms a continuous surface. Our survey model is a model that is made up of strings and points. If we were to take a section through any part of that model, because the model is made up of strings and points, MX would have to interpolate levels between the points in order to ascertain any Z values. In order to overcome this, we create our triangular mesh. Now there are two rules built into MX when you're using the triangulation option. The first rule is that MX is always trying to create equal-sided triangles. The second rule is a triangle side cannot cross a link between two points. In the middle diagram in the PowerPoint, you can see that the triangles on the left do not span across the central string point. This is because the rule states that a triangle side cannot cross a link between 2 points. On the right hand side, the string down the middle of the road has been created as a P string. Now a P string, or more commonly known as a point string, has no links between the points. Therefore, the triangle side can span across between those 2 points, and that is shown on the diagram. If you was to accept that triangulation, any cross sections taken through that road would be incorrect. To resolve that particular problem, what you have to do is you will have to change the name of the string running down the middle of the road to any other string name other than P, because a string name of any other than P will create a link between the points. When MX is trying to create the triangles, MX can find what we call model conflicts. These model conflicts can take the form of what we call intersecting strings. It's where two strings cross, and at the point where they cross, there is a common XY, which is easting and northing, but there are two Z values or two levels. MX, because it is only a computer program, will decide which level it takes, and it could take the level that is on the string above the ground. This in fact would cause a spike in the triangles. Now we have to resolve this particular conflict because we can't have MX deciding which level it takes, and because it would form a spike in the triangulation. Another type of model conflict that you can come across inside MX is what we call a duplicate point. If on a string you have what we call a closed loop, where the first point is the same as the last point in terms of easting and northing, but the Z value is different, then this will give MX a conflict, because again it wouldn't know which level to choose, and it will choose one and it could quite easily be the wrong one. A duplicate link is where two strings either have been surveyed or designed are less than 10 millimeters apart. In this instance, MX, because it has a point search tolerance around each point of 10 millimeters, if it finds another point within that search tolerance, it's going to ignore it, and you can't control which of those strings MX will take into its calculation to form the triangulation. So these type of model conflicts, MX can't resolve them, so we as a designer have to solve these particular problems. In order that we can find these problems, we're going to use an option inside MX which is called the surface checker. Now the surface checker can be found from under the analysis menu, or if you're using an application inside MX like MX Road, like Road Redesign and Rehabilitation, or MX Urban, then you can find the surface checker from that particular application toolbar, and it's usually the third icon along, which is the analysis option. If you select that, you'll get a toolbar, and on that toolbar we're going to choose the surface checker. Once we have used the surface checker to find our errors in our model, then we can then progress on to create our triangulation using the other icon on that toolbar, which is the surface analysis option. Once we've clicked on the icon to load the surface checker, or we've loaded the surface checker from the analysis option on the main toolbar and then select the surface checker, we're going to get the surface checker settings panel. On the surface checker settings panel, first of all we need to select the model that we're going to check. So it would either be a design model or a survey model or any string model that you want to check. Masking. If you wish to mask out any particular string inside the model that you're checking, then you need to select the area where it says no masking and select the option to create a new mask. Now what a mask will do, it will either exclude a string or strings from the analysis, or it will include strings for the analysis. In this particular option we're not going to look at masking, we're just going to look at the checks that MX will perform on your particular model. Now the checks we have here are for null levels, zero levels, single point strings, high points, low points, coincident points and intersection points. You can select one of those options or you can select them all, or any multiple in between. So if MX finds any null levels in your particular model, then you just need to tick the box null levels. If it finds it, it's going to put the symbol opposite the check in the color opposite the check at the location on the drawing. And remember what a null level is. A null level is a point that has an easting and northing but doesn't have a current Z value, and a null level is identified by the Z value of -999. If you want MX to check for 0 levels, tick the box and a 0 level, whereas a Z value of 0. Single point strings is where a string only has one point in it, and the reason we do this check is because MX needs 2 points in order to draw the link between the 2 points so that actually you can see the string. If the string has only got 1 point in it, MX can't display it, therefore you won't know that it exists. High points, low points. MX will give you a series of high points and low points along any string in the model that you're checking. Coincident points are where there is a point or 2 points in the string that have the same easting and northing but different Z values, and intersecting strings that cross. So you select the check that you want MX to perform and then hit the apply button, and MX will check your model. Once you've selected the apply button and it's done its check, the report button will become active, and if you select the report button you will then get to the reports panel. Along the top of the reports panel we have the checks that MX has performed on this particular model. We've got our null levels, our 0 levels, single point strings, high points, low points, coincident points and intersecting points. You just need to click on the tab to find out the report that MX has found about that particular check. Here we're showing a series of null levels, and all that you need to do is click on the index number of the check. On the bottom there's an icon that you can zoom to that location, and MX will zoom to the point where it's found the null level. If you then wish to edit that level, you can hit the edit icon, which is the second icon along, and if you know what the Z value of that particular point is, you can type that Z value in the Z value box, and if you hit the green tick, that will accept that level. If you wish to delete the level, you can select the index number of the report point that you want to delete, hit the delete button, and that point will be removed from your database. There is an undo facility here, but MX only undoes the last action. The print icon will obviously print this report so that you can look at it in text document format. So you just need to go through all the checks that MX has done along the top to find out what MX has found in your particular model. When you finish, then you can come out of this option, and MX works on temporary models here, and the temporary models you can either keep them or delete them. It is your choice. So here we're going to run the surface checker on this particular model to find out what problems, if any, we have with this model before we create our triangulated model. So I'm going to go to Analysis, Surface Checker, and it brings up the Surface Checker Settings panel. The model I'm going to check is our road survey. I'm going to ask it to check for null levels, 0 levels, single point strings, coincident points and intersection points. I'm not going to do any masking on this particular model, and I'm going to go apply. It's telling me here that there are no points with a null level, there are no points with a 0 level, and there are no coincident points from this tolerance, which is quite good. So because it's told me that I've asked for those 5 checks, 3 of them that it's done, it's not found any problems with. So I'm just going to go OK on this, and I'm going to go to the Reports tab here. So remember, it said there was no null levels, there was no 0 levels, there is a single point string. Now I'm just going to click on this, and I'm going to use this zoom to button here to zoom to that location. I'm just going to move the panel out of the way, and there you can see the single point string. Now MX has drawn this single point string because it is a point string. Now a point string can contain one point. A feature string, which would represent either a building or a fence or a hedge or a carriageway edge, actually needs 2 points in order to draw the string. So in this instance, the point string, which only has 1 point in, is okay. We can live with this. But there was an intersecting point. So I'm just going to go to this option along the top here. I'm going to go to intersection points. There is the intersecting point. I'm going to click on the index number. I'm going to zoom to that location, and the location is here. And it's where this particular string here, the carriageway edge string, crosses the center line. And I'm just going to move this slider along here, and the level difference at that point is 73 millimeters. You have a decision to make here. Are you prepared to accept that level difference of 73 millimeters, or do you need to edit one of those strings? In this particular instance, I'm not going to make any change to the model, but if it was a critical location for you, then you would have to make a change to the model. String number 1 here is REC1, which is the yellow string running across the screen, and the level on that is 85.775. Now when we go into the road redesign and rehabilitation option, we're going to use this particular carriageway edge, so I have to assume that MX is going to take that level as the level that it's going to create in the triangulated model. So I'm now going to go finish. Here's the temporary models that MX creates. It creates a temporary surface checker model, and it also creates a temporary triangulation model. Now the temporary surface checker model is a model that holds the symbols that MX has created when it's done the check. Now I'm not going to keep that model, I'm going to delete it. And I'm also going to delete the temporary triangulation model because I'm going to create one through the surface analysis options later. Okay, so I'm now going to go finish. To make any change to any of the information in the model, I need to go to the modify options. Now under the modify options, I've got edit models, edit strings, edit points, copy, move, copy transformation wizard, and the cross-sectional editor. First of all, we're going to look at edit models. Under edit models, you can create an empty model here using the create model option. You can create a composite model, which is a combination of at least 2 models. You can change the name of a model using the rename model, and you can delete a model by the delete model option. Now if you delete a model using this option on this panel, it will delete that information from the database. And remember, inside MX there is no undo facility, so once you've deleted it, it's gone. 2D to 3D surface. You can create a 3D MX model from a 2D microstation drawing or a 2D AutoCAD drawing, provided those drawings have got spot level values in terms of text into the drawing. You can trim a model to a boundary, and you can either trim inside it or trim outside it, and you can put a temporary lock on a model. Editing strings. Here you can create a string, you can create a boundary around a model, you can create a text string, you can delete strings, you can join them, you can move them, you can shift them, you can reverse them, you can change their name, you can create master strings, all using the edit string option. We're going to look at create a string dynamically. When you choose the option to modify, edit string, create a string dynamically, you're going to get the toolbar that you can see on the screen. On this toolbar, The first icon to the left is where we can add a point into a string. The second icon is where you delete a point. The third is where you insert a point. The fourth is where you add a point before a point. The fifth is where you add a point after a point. You can add a gap, close the string, undo, and finally you can save it. We do have some snapping options at the bottom indicated by the red magnets that you can either snap to one point in the string, you can snap to all the points in the string, you can snap to a given location on the string from the end, or a given location to the start, or between two given locations. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go to Modify, Edit Model, Create a Model. So I just type in here the name of the model I want to create. I choose its defaults, and the defaults are the style sets in terms of how MX is going to recognize and draw the strings. So the style sets here I would choose from the public folder, which is the standard folder that we issue with the software. And if I'm creating a survey, I would choose a survey style set, and it automatically associates the plan style set with the feature set because the lock style set and feature set button is selected. So there's my model. The model type is a default model, which means it's a string model, and I'm just going to go OK on that. So that model is now created. I'm going to use Modify, Edit String to create a string dynamically on the screen. And here's my toolbar. What I have selected at this moment in time is just single point. Now everywhere I click along the display, you can see MX is creating a string, indicated by the red line and the green symbols. I can use the second icon to delete a point that I've put onto the screen, just by using that button there. I've got undo facility here, so I can put it back. I can use this option to move a point. So if I click on the point I want to move, I can just drag it to any location that I want, release the mouse, and the point is going to stay at that location. I can add a point before this one by selecting I want to add a point here. I can add a point after that one by selecting a point here. I've got undo. I can undo all the way back to this particular point. I can close it to form a boundary, and once I've created it, I can then save it into the model. So I'll just save this, and I'll save it into the model I've just created, which was survey. And what type of feature do I want to create here? So I'm going to go to the list, and I'm going to create a hedge, and it says the string name I'm going to create here is H000, and I'm just going to go OK. And you can see here MX has created the hedge string. If I wanted to use the magnets, then obviously I have to select the magnet option. So if I was creating a string and I wanted to snap to a point that's in a string already in the model, then I just click on this button and I just click a particular point, and you can see there MX has snapped to that point. If I want to snap to another point, let's say over here, and you can see MX has snapped to the nearest point there. Again, I'm going to undo that. I can load all the points from a particular string, so I'm going to use this option here. And if I was to load all the points from this particular string, you can see here MX is showing you the start, the direction of the string, and the end. If I'm going to join that to this particular string here, I'm going to click on that particular string next, and you can see MX now extends that string up to that particular point. If I again was to accept this, again I'm going to put it into my survey model, and again I'm going to create a hedge. This time it's H001 because we've already got a string called H00, and I'm going to go OK. And you can see it creates another hedge. This button here will load the points from the start of the string to a given location. This one will load from a given location to the end, and that loads points between two given locations. I'm going to finish with this option now, and the strings that I've created, I'm now going to delete them. So I'm going to go to Modify, Edit String, and I'm going to delete the string. So MX is asking me for the model that the string resides in, and I'm going to select the hedge, and I'm going to go Apply. I'm now going to select the second hedge, and I'm going to go Apply, and then cancel. Those strings have now been removed from my database. The delete string option that I used on the model is shown here in the PowerPoint, where you select Modify, Edit String, Delete String. You choose the model name, you choose the string you want to delete, and apply it. If you want to delete a series of strings, all you have to do is in the string name area put the first and second character of the particular strings you want to delete, and when you hit apply, MX is going to say to you, because you're deleting more than one string, are you sure you want to delete these particular strings? So the option then is either yes or no. If you wish to truncate a string, this is like a trim inside the CAD functions. You need to go to Modify, Edit String, Truncate a String. You choose the model that the string resides in. You choose the string name itself, and then you need to decide where you're truncating from. Are you truncating from the start of the string or from the end of the string? And then you need to decide which point you're going to truncate to. It's quite important when you're doing this to make sure that you know which the direction runs in, because depending on which direction it runs in, if you choose from the start or from the end, you could potentially delete the wrong part of the string. And remember, there is no undo facility inside MX. So here I'm going to modify this fence line or hedge line. I'm going to go to Modify, Edit String, and I'm going to go down here to Truncate String. I'm going to select from the panel the model that the string resides in and then the string itself. Now you can see here it says from start or from end. The green icon is indicating that the string runs from left to right. So if I want to delete the end of the string, I need to select from end, and you'll see the symbol move to the end of the string. Then I need to select the point I'm going to truncate to, which is this one. So MX is now going to delete this part of the string, and I'm now going to go apply and then cancel that panel out, and you can see this is the string we're left with. And if I had the direction of the string wrong, I would have deleted the wrong part of the string. But you can see there's no undo facility inside MX, so I would have to live with it at this particular point. We're now going to look at the modify functions for edit points. Here we can delete one point, we can delete a series of points, we can change the point information in terms of X, Y or Z using the edit point function. We can add a point to the string, we can put a gap into a string, we can interpolate a point onto the string. Here we show how to delete a point. So we need to go to Modify, Edit Point, Delete a Point. We select the model, the string, and then the point we're going to delete. Here we're looking at point number 2. When you hit the apply button, MX deletes that point from the database, but it also deletes the link that make up that point. So the link from point 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 will automatically be deleted along with the point. But what MX does, it then joins up point 1 to the former point 3, which is now point number 2, and then resequences the point numbers. Editing a point value. So we need to select the model, the string, and the point we wish to amend. MX loads into the original coordinates area the coordinates of that particular point as they exist at that moment, which will put in there the easting, the northing, and the level. It'll also load those values into the amended coordinates area, and you can click into that area and amend either the easting, the northing, or the level. And then if you hit the apply button, it'll make the change to that model. Now here, if you hit the apply button, it'll leave this panel on the screen, and if the change you've made you don't like it, then you can revert back to the original coordinates by either selecting the original XY and the original Z, and then hit the apply button. It'll put the coordinate back to what it was. You can also apply a null level to the Z value and a 0 level to the Z value as well by just selecting those two buttons and hitting the apply. So here I'm going to go to modify, edit point, edit points. I'm going to choose the string, and I'm going to amend this point here, and you can see here it's loaded the original coordinates into the original coordinates area and the same coordinates into the amended coordinates. Now if for instance I wanted to alter the northing, so in here I'm just going to add 20 meters to that northing and go apply. You can see that MX has made that particular change. Actually I made not 20, I made 2,000 meters change there. If I select the original XY, you'll see that the original XY is loading back into that area, and go apply, and it now puts the string back to what it was. If I want to change the Z value there, I can just highlight that value there and type in here a Z value and go apply. It makes that change. If I want to put it back to the original Z, which in this case was a null level, I just go original Z, and you can see it loads it back in there, go apply, and then cancel that particular panel out. Putting a gap into a string. We need to select the model and the string and the start of the gap and the end of the gap, and then apply, and MX will take out the values along the string between those two particular locations. Once you have a gap in a string, you cannot put it back in. You would have to delete it and recreate it. So here I'm going to put a gap into our hedge. So I'm going to go to modify, edit point, insert gap into a string. I need to choose the string name. Where does the gap start? Where does the gap end? If I click in the XY location here, I can choose my PSM, my point selection method, or where I'm going to choose for my start position to begin with. In this instance, I'm going to leave it at XY. I'm just going to click here. And the same for the end. I'm going to click there, and I'm going to go apply. And you can see MX has removed that part of the string between those two locations.